Chapter 2. There's a discomforting familiarity to this place. Shadowbook drifts lazily through sun-touched halls, past rows of portraits and statues, all gleaming in their pristine glory. Spotless rows of cream carpet lead him down corridor to corridor, the same waffle cone pattern lining the walls and floors no matter which way he turns. Even more nauseatingly, the same 5 shades of light glimmer from stained sugar glass windows over and over and over. To say pure vanilla held sentimentally towards his band of ancient heroes would be putting it mildly. A heavy sigh is the only sound that breaks the quiet as Shadowbook twirls his cane and contemplates just exactly why he is out here. There has been a kernel of truth in which he said to pure vanilla, always is in any good dash of deceit. He doesn't do well with captivity, voluntarily or otherwise. Tight quarters leave the phantom feelings of silver bars at his throat, and it's not a sensation he's willing to tolerate for long. Still, it's not much better out there, for all its revolting humility that pure vanilla likes to conduct himself with. The degree of ominousness around here is astounding. Shalamook's gaze drifts upwards to yet another Gartuna portrait of pure vanilla, hung with care upon a golden plague. The other cookie looms larger than life over him, eyes closed with a forever still smile painted upon his lips, and a cream sheep held in his arms. The artist had painted a sort of halo around him, a glow that frames him oh so perfectly in the light. He looks perfect, princely, untouchable. Without thinking, Shadowbook's cane rises. A quick tap and the painting changes, twisting in a blur of black and blue. A snarling K-cow now lay where the sheep has been, sinking his fangs into the owner's arms. An owner whose once sincere face was now clenched in a silent scream. Shadowbook smiles to himself. Better. The sight is so ticking that he finds his cane rising yet again, sweeping across the air as the hallway distorts around him. Golden sunbeams are banished as darkness swallows his surroundings, where his hand lowers once more. Gone all of the glaring hallmarks of pure vanilla's oh-so-perfect world. Now Shadowbook gazes down the spitting image of what had been once his own spire's walkway, familiar eyes embozzling on every surface that winked back at him in the dark. Much better. There's a clanker behind him, a small gas that pulls his attention around. His neck swivels, cracking audibly as his gaze lands on a small trembling cookie standing in the entryway. There's an empty tray of now scattered sweets lay out at her feet. Her hands fly to her mouth in abject horror. Shadowbook's grin widens, even sharpened tooth on display. The cookie shrieks, turning on her heels to flee, and a shiver of excitement runs down Shadowbook's back. Finally, some fun. The chase is not difficult. He's faster than she could ever hope to be with those small, delightfully terrified steps. He leaves room behind him as he flies after her down the hallways, just close enough to hear her terrified gasps, close enough to make her scream as he blows a breath down her back before cackling in her ear. Her fear is palpable, filling the once quiet rooms with shrieks of open terror as they tear through the castle. And it is so funny. He's still giggling to himself as she turns a corner abruptly, so lost in his own delight that he nearly smacks his head into the next archway. He hisses, dripping low as she frantically scurries through the swinging door that opens into, ooh, not what he expected. A large kitchen sprawls out before him, stopping him momentarily in his tracks as he takes in the surroundings. Enormous lines of polished countertops and gleaming stovetops glint beneath the chandeliers above, lights bouncing off rows upon rows of jars filled with sugar and jam packed tightly into corners. A subtle coffee aroma fills the air, which is made altogether stranger that such a massive room seems so empty. Well, almost empty. The little cookie girl is trembling in a corner, trying to hide her tiny frame beneath a straight jar lid. Shadowbook floats closer, hovering menacingly with a wicked grin as he reaches forward. I see you're out of your room, despite how such a calm, steady voice could stop him in his tracks. Shadowmilk leaves a poisonous look to his left. There in the adjacent doorway, Pure Vanilla stands with a steaming mug in hand. He even has the glade to slip at it delicately before his gaze finally rises up to meet Shadowmilk's own. You seem to be in high spirits today. An ugly smirk is on Shadowmilk's face before he could stop it, cane twirling in his palm as he turns to face the other. What? Good morning. Good morning, Pure Vanilla repeats back. I'd advise you to stop teasing the staff now. Shadowbook scoffs. Advise me? And pray tell, why exactly would I be seeking your advice? Pure Vanilla does respond at first. There's another slow, patient sip through half-lidded eyes that pinch Shadowbook's brow with irritation. Finally, there's a quiet, simple, Kutin dainty cookie. The blow on the back in his hand is immediate. Shadowbook barely has time to exhale a subtle gasp before something tightens around his chest as he is pulled, yanked harshly to the floor. There is a beat, a moment of processing as he tilts his chin, staring down in disbelief at the licorice rope wrapped tight around his torso. Thank you, my dear. Pure Vanilla's voice cuts through the shocked silence like a knife. You may go. And oh, that cookie, that small, frightened little cookie steps forward, darting on the cusp of Shadowbook's vision as she dips into a low curtsy before them. Then she is gone, darting away through the double doors and out of sight. Shadowbook closes his eyes. When they reopen, he burns. The ropes melt off him as he rises, pulling on the floor as he ascends in building, seething fury. He directs every inch of his vicious gaze towards Pure Vanilla as he flies across the countertops, sweeping his cane to send mixtures and bowls flying every which way. The din of their clattering drowns out his anger breaths as he stops inches away from the other, and Pure Vanilla smiles at him. Shadowbook physically recoils at the sight. My apologies. Pure Vanilla tilts his head slightly, stirring his mug. I had hoped you'd see the humor in my little trick. So I will say that a fair warning was given. Trick? Shadowbook hisses venomously. That wasn't a trick. That was humiliating. A cheap shot. A foul play. A trick. A trick. Pure Vanilla was playing tricks on him. I'm certain you've noticed the house's emptiness by now. Pure Vanilla steps past him, as if totally blind to the vicious snarl on Shadowbook's face. I thought it might make your judgment a bit easier if there were a few less cookies around while you're still getting your bearings. He pulls up a stool at the nearest counter, settling down with one hand around his mug, as the other pats the seat beside him. Oh, he must be joking. Pure Vanilla's hand withdraws. The look of poisonous refusal must be playing on Shadowbook's face, because the other simply continues with, Still, some staff is needed to keep things running, so I handpicked a few close to remain, with temperaments better suited to ease the transition. Shadowbook stares him down from across the counter. Handpicked, he repeats dangerously. Cut Dairy Cookie was quite the trapper back in the village, Pure Vanilla muses, ever eager to help. Her specialty was, I suppose the term would be, luring prey. Shadowmilk's grips on his cane tightens. Oh, he says slowly, voice signally sweet. Oh, how adorable! You two are comparing me to prey. Me, Shadowmilk Cookie. Do I have that right? The room darkens, lamps overhead snuffling out in quiet succession. I asked her to go and find you. Pure Vanilla watches him steadily. There is a wariness now, trying to stay hidden beneath a revolting stubborn smile. Perhaps I misjudged your fondness of trickery, but I did not think you'd come if I simply asked for your presence. I thought egging you into a chase might be more fun. That's what it has been, hasn't it? Fun, woven along a sinful thread of deceit, pulled by pure Vanill's hands. Beneath that simmering anger, Shadowbrook feels another tug at his soul gem. He clamps down on the sensation, hard. Regardless, Pure Vanilla continues, I wanted to ask you something. Shadowbrook's eyes narrowed. His emotions feel jumbled. Headed anger mixing with an annoying tinge of intrigue. His grip flexes experimentally on his cane, turning it once as he takes a breath to compose himself. Oh, he tilts his head, eyes widening in mock curiosity as he floats closer. A question just for me. I'm so honored. Let me guess. You want to know how many tiny little crumbly pieces I'm thinking about turning you into right now? Personally, I think 1,000 will be far too messy. But hey, I'm open for suggestions. That's a shame. Pure Vanilla takes another sip from his mug. I thought we might play a game instead. Shadowbrook can feel his brow impertinent perk. Really? You like games? Everyone likes games. Shadowbrook taps his cane on his foot. Why should I play one with you? I have plans today myself, you know. More redecorating? Pure Vanilla's gaze travels back to the doorway. I passed by some of your work on my way here. Aww, Shadowbrook sneers. Are you a fan? Pure Vanilla infuriatingly smiles back. You wouldn't be happy if I was. Too bad. Shadowbrook floats another foot upwards, flipping upside down as he grins wickedly. I might just get my foot in the business. Really give this place a good shadow milk cookie makeover. Make it pop. I think everyone's getting a little tired of seeing your dewy-eyed mug plastered everywhere. Pure Vanilla's gaze follows him up. Shadowbrook barely understands why. He's stared out of those eyes himself time and time again. For this distance, Shadowbrook would be nothing more than a hazy blur of color. Would you like to play me for it? Shadowbrook's brow creases. What? Play me for it, Pure Vanilla repeats, pushing himself off his stool. If you win, you may redecorate the castle to your liking, though I will ask that you revert the changes before the full staff returns. The proposal is laughable. Literally, Shadowbrook snorts in disbelief, flipping around the air once again. Excuse me, why exactly would I need to play you for that? I fail to see the part where he jabs his cane at Pure Vanilla for emphasis. Have you ever seen the tedious way to stopping me? That's true. Pure Vanilla sets his now empty mug on the counter, brushing at his robes. You have the power to do as you wish. I would be wholly unable to stop you. Shadowbrook's eyes narrow. So, Pure Vanilla replies easily. Wouldn't it be more fun to beat me before you do? The suspicion does not abate, but Shadowbrook is intrigued, a bit reluctantly. There's a mischievous glimmer behind Pure Vanilla's eyes that, in itself, is rare. You seem confident that I'll win, he drawls, eyeing the other up and down. So sure of your own shortcomings? Really, Pure Vanilla muses. I think we'll be on rather equal footing. Perhaps you're just afraid to lose. A taunt, open, brash, and daring. For him, anyway. How unusual. Shadowbrook's mouth slowly twists into a wicked grin. How refreshing. All right. Shadowbrook lowers himself back down, hovering so that he and Pure Vanilla are eye to eye. Color me intrigued, you silly, simple little thing. What's the game? Pure Vanilla smiles. I was thinking hide and seek. Not exactly the most exciting proportion in a place like this. And more obviously, hello. Shadowbrook wraps his knuckles on Pure Vanilla's forehead. earning a small wince from the other. I know you're one bathful away from crumbling of old age, but you do still remember that I can see through you, literally. You're not exactly giving me much of a challenge here. Pure Vanilla gently pushes his hand away. I didn't mean you'd be searching for me. I suppose it's more of a scavenger hunt, though you'd be looking for just one item. Shadowbook rolls his eyes. What? Lost your bunny slippers? Going senile in your old age? There's a small quirk to Pure Vanilla's brow. You are much, much older than me. And yet, Shadowbook sighs, tossing a hand through his hair, still as effortlessly handsome as the day I was baked. Truly, how do I do it? There's an amused eye roll from Pure Vanilla. May I continue? Jealous much? Listen, I'll tell you a riddle, all right? Pure Vanilla motions to the door with his staff. You're looking for something in the castle. Solve the riddle to find the item I'm looking for, then bring it to me before nightfall. You do that, and you win. Shadowmilk hums, considering as he idly rolls over in the air. Still doesn't sound like much of a game. Seems to me like you just lost something in that oh so feeble memory of yours. Oh, I know exactly where it is, though. Pure Vanilla adds, I admit I will be troubled if you did away with it. Now that sounds interesting. Shadowbook writes himself, grinning ear to ear. Did I say not much of a game? Because believe me, I would absolutely love to play with you. Wonderful. Pure Vanilla's smile is revoltingly genuine. Shall we begin? Wait! Shadowbook holds up a hand. We haven't outlined all the rules yet. What do you get if you win? Pure Vanilla pauses, a thoughtful look crossing his face. Oh, wait, seriously? Shadowbook gives the other an interestedly once over. You go to all this trouble and you don't even know what you want. I suppose I didn't think you'd offer. What? Shadowbook sputters indignantly. I'm not offering. You're the one who made this about stakes. It's hardly a real game if only one side is. He waves his hand dismissively, irritation creeping back in. Ugh, forget it. No. Pure Vanilla replies quickly. I know what I want now. Shadowbook rolls his eyes. Go on then. Your audience is just dying to know. But let me guess. You want me to what? Clothe the sick, feed the poor, spread width and woof? If I win, you come to the Blue Moon Garden with me tonight. Shadowbook blinks. What? The Blue Moon Garden. Pure Vanilla tilts his head ever so slightly. I mentioned it to you the night before. Shadowbook stares down at him in disbelief. You have the opportunity, he says slowly, to ask the Beast of Deceit, the Master of Chaos, to do anything. Anything! And you want me to go stand around in a bunch of stupid flowers. Yes, absurd, irrefragably so. Shadowbook scoffs, floating higher out of reach. Whatever, not like it'll matter either way. He gives Pure Vanilla a distasteful once over, folding his arms across his chest. Go on, then. Give me your riddle. Shadowbook's cane trails along the castle as he glides through the corridors, turning Pure Vanilla's words over and over in his mind. My eyes are open but unseen. My limbs lay lightly but cannot move. I am the sights you treasure most in the world, and hide where no but you would find me. What am I? It's more of a riddle than he'd expected from the other. Frankly, he'd been half bracing for some cutesy rhyming nonsense. The words aren't terribly clever, lack the clair and flair that Shadowbook brings to his own games. But Pure Vanilla had at least not insulted him by making it obvious. Shadowbook comes thoughtfully to himself, drumming his cane in his palms as he picks apart his options. The first immediate thought had been a mirror. After all, what better sight than his own? Yet it hasn't quite fit. He clearly had no trouble seeing his own reflection, and his limbs remained as free, as flexible as ever. There had been a brief, irritated muzzing that Pure Vanilla had the gall to suggest himself, blind as the bat that he was. Still, That hadn't felt right either. While he may have slowed with age, Pure Vanilla was capable of moving about. The sights you treasure most. What exactly did Pure Vanilla think he treasured? The riddle felt far too objective, too open to misinterpretations from the other. The seeds, the only true fundamental core of his being, was a concept, a living, a breathing creation, not a simple object to hold in hand. Was Pierre Bernard trying to guess his interests? Or had he just cocooned a game that was flawed from the start? Shadowbook scowls to himself before discouraging the idea entirely. No, Pierre Bernard was annoying, precipitous, along together with the most pathetic thing Shadowbook had ever laid eyes on. Well, that's where his thoughts began and end, really. There was something Shadowbook was missing, something beyond the riddle's simple words. What else had Pure Vanilla said? What had slipped through the cracks? Oh, I know exactly where it is, though. Oh, I admit I would be trouble if you did away with it. Pure Vanilla's easy certainty in the first statement was interesting. If he was so confident of the location, he must have seen the object recently. They'd spoken earlier in the morning hours, while it trailed towards evening now. It did mean that Pure Vanilla could not have gotten far before their encounter in the kitchen. Perhaps he'd passed the object off to the miserable little cadenti cookie. Shadowbook had already taken the time to scour the grounds for her to no avail. She may be in hiding or have left the premises entirely. A wise decision on her part, really. Silly, that didn't feel like an angle Pure Vanilla would take. A moving object defeats the point of the game, the riddle itself. Pure Vanilla was many things, but he wasn't a bad player. So, what would he have seen on his way to the kitchens? It may be impossible to tell how many rooms the other could have dipped in and out of, but there at least would have been one staring part Shadowbook can sure be of. Pure Vanilla's bedroom. It's as solid a place as presumed of any, though admittedly Shadowbook had never entered it properly. All of their previous secret soul-touching rendezvous had been a simple matter of slipping in and out of his portals in the dead of night. Shadowbook isn't actually certain where in the castle it would be. But, well, why fix what already worked? A wave of his cane, and Shadowbook is slipping back through the darkness, sliding along shadows that dip through the cracks of reality. He knows the route by heart. It only takes a few moments before a familiar cream wool rug solidifies under his feet. He takes a few steps forward, letting the portal's inky wisps drip from his back as he surveys his all too familiar surroundings. He truly doesn't understand how Pure Vanilla sleeps like this. There is far, far too much light for one simple room. It's a tolerable enough place to visit in the dark of the night, but the evening sun glaring through stained sugar glass windows pinches Shadowbook's brow into a pinted squint. The chandelier among burns brightly despite the room's noticeable lack of occupants. Even the bedside lamp is still flickered on. Does Pure Vanilla just leave everything like this all day? Does he anticipate coming back so late at night as to need it? Blind as a bat indeed. Shadowmilk rubs irritably at his eyes as he floats through the room, squinting gaze daring this way and that as he scans the area. There's nothing that grabs his attention immediately. He's seen all this before. He drifts by a desk, piled high with documents that Pure Vanilla spends hours scribbling away at with quilts. Then a bookcase that's stuffed to the breaking point with musty old tomes. There is plush reading chair, gleaming bedsheet tables, and dressers with neatly pressed robes lined in a row. The most grandest object by far is the king-size bed and its glittering silken sheets, an object Shadowbook is reluctantly well acquainted of. The sheets are annoyedly perfectly tucked, of course. There's no obvious answer that stands out to him as Shadowbook drifts to and fro. He checks the cabinets, the shelves, even the agile breakfast nook to no avail. Everything seems as brilliant as he expected. No clues, no hints. If anything, it feels like a deader end than before. There's certainly nothing around here that he would treasure. There had been a sliver of enjoyment in scribbling the white lily by the windowsill, at least. Shadowbook sighs to himself, crossing his arms as he massages the tip of his forehead. What else? What else have this pest of a cookie said? What was he missing? And hide where none but you would find me. It feels like the line should be contentment. Most cookies would never dream of setting foot in pure vanilla's bedroom unannounced. Yet, still, there were servants around, cookies to sweep up the messes and press his stupid little robes into crisp perfection. Shadowbook can't have been the only cookie in here, even just for today. So, what else is there? Shadowbook taps his cane against his palm, squinting around the room, even as he presses in the right place. How was he supposed to see anything like this? It's too nauseatingly bright, lacking a silver sliver of soothing darkness anywhere except Shadowbook's gaze slowly drifts down to the massive bed that lies stage center in the room. He lowers himself, gliding an inch from the floor as he cocks his head in the shadowed space beneath the bed frame. Darkness. Weak, flickering darkness. But darkness nonetheless. None but you. He reaches out, his hand slipping through dust as he feels blindly uncertain. There's a touch, a light brush against something cold. He leans in closer, grasping until his hands find purchase on something metallic. A hinge? Shadowbook pulls hard, tugging the object as it catches briefly on the bed's slide. Another yank, then two, and the object pops free, tumbling out of Shadowbook's grasp and sliding gently across the floor. A box. A small wooden chest, no longer than a simple loaf of bread. It's unassumingly chipped and worn. It lacks the grandest golds and whites of the rest of their surroundings, looking almost crude in comparison, like it had been fashioned by a pair of unexperienced hands. A grin splits Shadowbook's face in two. He lunges for his prize, grabbing in greedy hands before turning it side to side. There's no switch, no key tape to the other side. Just a simple metal clasp that he undoes with a flick of his wrist. Shadowbook's hand seize each lid, violently wrenching them open as he leans in for his prize. Then he freezes. The room feels too quiet now. There's an unnatural stillness, a deadly silence that settles into the swiftly darkening room as the grin slowly drops from Shadowbook's face. Ooh. He continues to stare motionlessly down into the box, grasp on it loosening with each passing moment. After several moments, he turns it over, dropping the object into his open palm. He brings it to his face, staring it down for what feels like hours. It's the answers. Shadowbook's confidence in that is absolute, at least. Yet a new trickle of uncertainty narrows his gaze. An unbidden welcomed question now hangs in the air around him. For a brief flickering moment, Shadowbook considers if he truly wants to win. Hey, Nelly! Two mismatched eyes turn upwards, a milky gaze that widens in surprise as Shadowbook pulls back his arm, bares his teeth in a grin, and thwack! The sound the doll makes as it collides with pure vanilla space dissembles all doubts. This has definitely been worth it. Pure vanilla lets out a muffled squawk, doubling over as he covers his face with both hands. What? Shadow Milk! Shadowbook clutches his sides, peals of cackling laughter filling the evening air as he grins ear to ear. His grin only widens as pure vanilla wipes and stutters crossingly, massaging the thought the doll has made impact before directing an openly cross look upwards. Shadow milk, he repeats, and oh, the stern voice is back. That wasn't funny. Now, Nelly, is that any way to talk to a victor on the eye of his trumpet? One might think you've been a bad loser. Shadowbug twirls his cane once, then motions it to the ground. By the way, your little pests are eating my prize. Pure Vanilla follows his gaze, staring breathingly before Hensley bending back down. No, hey, no, get up here! Shadowbug watches with mild amusement as a surprisingly bulky cream sheep stares back at the other, the doll clenched permanently between its teeth. The rest of the flock milling around the pace to pay them no mind aside from a few stray sniffs. But this one turns, pulls back from Pure Vanilla's grasping touch. There's a slow, almost mechanical air as it stubbornly chews away, slobber and spit crushing the fabric between its teeth. Pure Vanilla grows and pulls, tugging back and forth as the sheep stubbornly clamps down. There's another tug, an irrepressible bleep, and rip. Shadowbug doesn't try to stifle his snorts as Pure Vanilla stumbles backwards, landing solidly in the dirt. The other barely seemed to notice, his dismayed gaze fixed on the shredded remains in hand. Two little diamond-powdered legs dangle helplessly in his palms. Hey, not a total loss. Shadowbug floats lower, eyeing the remains with a smile. Some say those are my best features. Pure Vanilla sighs, low and quiet. He doesn't look up, not even when Shadowbug gives the tip of his hat a condescending pat. You know, Shadowbug continues, I'm a bit disappointed in you, silly Vanilla. I know you're a bleeding heart, but really, that was just sad. What did you expect to accomplish, Did you really think I'd be moved by your little display of sentimentality? No response. Pure Vanilla continues to stare miserably down, giving Shadowbug nothing but silence. Stubborn. Boring. Come on. Shadowbug flicks the other's forehead. Why so serious? That thing was already falling apart to begin with. It was buried. Shadowbug tilts his head. What's that? It was buried. Pure Vanilla repeats. He's getting to his feet, putting his weight on his staff as he rises. In the rubble of the spire. His hand is clutched tight, stubbornly refusing to let go of the plantain remains. That's where I found it. And what? Shadowbug drawls. You thought I'd be oh so touched because you picked up my trash? I didn't do it for you. Pure Vanilla's looking away, refusing to meet his gaze. His attention is on the ground, the sheep, anywhere but Shadowbug. I took it as a reminder. Shadowbug's eyes narrow to slits. He thrusts his arm out, grabbing Pure Vanilla by the chain, yanking him forward and forcing their eyes to look. There's a beat. A brief struggle as Pure Vanilla tries to pull away, but Shadowbug holds it fast. You don't need a reminder, he hisses, drawing every word out. I'm right here. Pure Vanilla stilts in his grasp. There's a hesitation, a held breath as Pure Vanilla's eyes stare back, expression unreadable. Then his eyes lit, gaze averting down to the ground once more. Annoying, pathetic, stubborn, sentimental old fool. Congratulations. The reply is monotone. Pure Vanilla is already tilting his head away, yanking himself free from Shadowbug's loosening grasp. He turns away towards the sheep, daring to put his back to Shadowbug before he continues. You won the game. You may do to the castle as you wish. Annoying. Annoying. Shadowbug grits his teeth at the image of Pure Vanilla's back, clutching at his chest as his soul gem twinged pitifully. He could feel it, the other's detestable unhappiness bleeding through like a poison. A dull throb of all things disappointment. He likes it when Pure Vanilla is unhappy. He likes it when the other's face is twisted with shock, horror, and dismay. But games aren't fun if the other isn't willingly to play. Shadowbook sighs, loud and dramatic, loud enough to earn him an unhappy gaze backwards before Pure Vanilla turns away again. Fine, fine. You're such a sore loser, Nelly. Shadowbook rolls his eyes before pointing his cane at the other. Come on, give me that thing. Gabriella turns in full, a startled sound escaping as the plush remains slid from his hands. He tries grasping at them, but the tattered legs are already floating up out of reach. They glide towards the air, coming to a stop a few feet away from Shadowbook's unimpressed stare. Honestly, he drawls, heaving another theatrical sigh. You are way too soft for your own good. Shadowbook flicks his cane. The legs are instantly surrounded by a cocoon of darkness. A rush of silver thread swirling in spirals over and over before coming to an abrupt halt. Hovering in the air, Shadowbook eyes over his new prism mirror image, albeit a much smaller, plushier one. Well, at least Pure Vanilla has good taste, he supposes. Here, he says dismissively, flicking his cane again. The plushie suddenly drops from the air. He watches as Pure Vanilla's stunned expression changes to one of momentarily surprise, the other stumbling forward to grab at the doll mere seconds before it hits the muddy ground. Shadowbook continues to watch, brow perked in growing irritation as Pure Vanilla stares wordlessly down at the toy. Really, not a single word of thanks. Ahem. Shadowbook clears his throat pointedly. Were you raised in a bar? I am expecting some adulteration here. Such a gracious matrimonial act from little old moi deserves. Thank you. Shadowbook's next words stuttered to a halt. Pure Vanilla still isn't looking at him. It's examining the doll, lifting it towards the sky with an expression that is shockingly, unavertedly tender. Something strange twists in Shadowbook's chest. His soul jam hums oddly, ringing in his ears. The sensation is merely foreign, like a bush to the back of his throat that itches in just the wrong way. Disgusting. Shadowbook quickly schools his expression, his trademark grin firmly in place. Ha! So sentimental. Sad, really. Well, he claps his hands together, pointedly turning away to place his gaze firmly on the castle. If that's all it takes to keep an old sap like you happy, I think I'll go have some real fun. Tell me, do you prefer snakes in your closets or teapots? Don't answer that, let's just do both. Do you want me to play again tomorrow? A simple question, far too gentle, far too quiet. Shadowbook's grip on his cane slightly tightens before he barks out a laugh. Lost and already so eager for a rematch. You got moxied, I'll give you that. He keeps his back turned away, ignoring the sound of Pure Vanilla stepping closer. There's a beat of silence, a moment of hesitation before he feels the brush of a touch at his back. Shadowbook shrugs his shoulder away, floating upward and out of reach. Anyway, he sing-songs, I got places to be, castles to crush. Try not to trip and crumble in a ditch on your way back, okay? If Pure Vanilla has a response, it's lost. Shadowbook is already flying away, the wind whipping at his face and drowning it all out, but the muffled bleats of the sheep below. The night is closing in fast around him. Blissful darkness spreads across the sky as Shadowbook scars overhead. His jam tangles in the cold. Shadowbook's hands unconsciously reaches up, tracing over the brush and feeling it warm beneath his touch. Like a pup feeling the hand of his master, it thrums greedily, pushing at him, pleading, singing with a silent request that roars in his ears. Shadowbook ignores it, retracting his hands and setting his sights firmly on the castle ahead. He has already had more than enough fun for Pure Vanilla for one day.